We're so happy that you're here with us. So, for everyone watching today, our guests are two people who need very little introduction but absolutely deserve a proper one. They're Nikita Prakash, known to all of us as Nick, and Sayantika Majumdar. Together, they go by Nick and Sayantika on Instagram, where they describe themselves as a fully filmy queer couple. And honestly, the energy comes through in everything they do.
Yeah. Nick and Sayantika both are based out of Bangalore, senior professionals at Flipkart, and are also among the first openly out lesbian couples at the organization.
Without any further delays, now let us dive straight into the interview.
Yeah, so all of us have joined here. For the people who don't know, you two started with what you have described as hate at first sight. A rumor
Yes.
that brought you two together before you'd even meet, an awkward first meeting,
Yes.
2 years of cold glances at events. Looking back now, what do you think are the most memorable moments with this journey that, taught you about yourself individually?
Yeah. I like our bio rightly says we are a fully filmy couple, and our love story is, the proof of that. Yeah. When we first met, we really hated each other because there was a random rumor about us that even before we met actually in person. Yeah. So there was a rumor that we are dating, and I thought she spread the rumor, and she thought I spread the rumor, and that's
We were
where
not
the
even
thing
in the
started.
same city. We were not friends. We'd never spoken to each other. We were just connected on, I think, like socials.
Yeah.
But that's about pretty much it. And there was a random rumor doing the rounds that we're dating. And I was so offended. I'm like, who is this rando just making claims like this? So I thought Nick started the rumor. Nick thought I started the rumor.
Yeah.
And when we did eventually meet in Bangalore, we gave each other cold shoulder. We were so pissed at each other because obviously we assumed that the other person had started the rumor. I think one of my biggest takeaways from this has been that don't assume. Do not assume anything
Yeah.
about anybody.
Exactly. If I have to like go back to that date and to that moment, I would never imagined this today. Like,
Yeah.
after 6 years, we are sitting together in a house that we can call our own.
Yeah.
We do pretty much everything together. We go to work together. We create content together. We do,
Yeah.
all the fun things together. So,
We are the
if that-
Siamese lesbians.
if
Joined at the hip.
yeah, so if at that point I had to think, of course, there was no way I could imagine that the girl that I hated is now the girl of my dream and of my future and everything.
Yeah.
So yes.
Okay, that's sweet. Yeah.
Okay,
Your
that was so
Instagram handle,
sweet.
yeah. Your Instagram handle is described as both entertaining and educational, right?
Yeah.
For particularly the community. So
Yes.
Sayantika once said that before the account launched, you weren't very comfortable about being open about your sexual identity. So what was that moment in that made you both decide that going visible was worth the risk?
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, I was always super open. I think you got the names there wrong, but like, yeah, Nick was not
Yes.
comfortable with
I
it.
think I have been
Oh.
closeted for most of my life, and I did not even feel the need to. So, the my friends, my family, people around me who knew, they were okay about it, and I did not really feel the need to, go out there and tell everybody, "Hey, I am gay." There was never a requirement like that, unless and until I met Shantika, and where we
Ice cream rainbow.
yeah, and I just when I met her, there was this realization like, wow, this girl is so confident in her own skin, and she doesn't have to fake it or pretend it anywhere she goes. Like at work, when you go on a Monday morning, that your colleagues would ask you, what did you do over the weekend? And I had to like fake it. I had to say that I was out with friends, or talk about my imaginary boyfriend and things like that. And I realized that, why should I live a dual life? And Shantika kind of inspired me to be my authentic self, and it just feels good. Like there is no pressure. You don't have to think, oh, maine last time kya bola tha, and I had to connect the story again and continue the same fake story. So there's no pressure absolutely like that. And when we started the handle, we just wanted to normalize the queer narrative.
Yeah.
Shantika, when we were starting the handle, said something very beautiful, and that's what we even follow till date. She said that, Nick, I want to create the kind of content that the 16-year-old Nick and Shantika did not have.
Yeah.
And that made so much sense, because growing up, I grew up in Bombay, she grew up in Calcutta. We did not have any exposure to the queer community.
No representation whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't think I even knew the term lesbian growing up.
Yeah.
So there was absolutely no representation. And when we started this account, we wanted to normalize the narrative. We wanted to show that our love is no different than any other couple. We fight about the same things. What to watch on Netflix. I love watching documentaries. She loves watching rom-com, and there's always a debate about that.
Yeah.
She takes time to get ready, but she would say that no, that's Nick who takes time to get ready. So there are some typical arguments that you'll see in any other couple, right? And we wanted to normalize this narrative, and
And put
especially
it out there that queer couples, and I'll say this, that queer couples are in a lot of ways are no different from any other couple. But at the same time, then you'd be like, why is there a need to put it out on social media, right? Why is there a need to show your life and document it on social media if it's like any other couple? But that's the catch. Because growing up, we did not see this normalized narrative of any other couple in the queer context.
Yeah.
We did not see two women living this life, with this very normal life. Yes, it's very normalized. It's like any other couple. But at the same time, it's also two women, something that society doesn't allow, something that our legal structure doesn't allow, something that has a life that has to fight for rights, because we don't have the right to marry, we don't have the right to adopt a child. So there are very specific queer struggles that we have, at the same time living a life that is very much like probably any other couples.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think those are the nuances that we really wanted to bring out through our content. And why the decision to go out public is, I say, we had the privilege to do so. Let's acknowledge that. Every
Yeah.
couple doesn't have, every queer person doesn't have the privilege
Yeah.
to be out there. There are people who face severe threats from family, from the society, that surroundings. And I truly believe this, that as somebody from a particularly marginalized community, if you have the privilege to represent your community, if you have the privilege to be that voice for your community, the onus lies on us to be that voice for our community.
Yeah.
And growing up, so I grew up in like Calcutta, like Nick mentioned. I did not
Yeah.
see any couple. It took me a long time to come out to myself as a lesbian. Like, I came out at 24. It took me all that time to come out. I had a huge crush on a girl in school, but I could still not come to terms with the fact that I was a lesbian, because I did not know what life looked like as a lesbian, what that meant for me. Yes, I like a girl, but what does that mean? What does that even mean? Am I going to be with her forever? Am I going to marry her? What does that mean for my life? Because all around me, all I was seeing was bhaiya bhabhi, chacha chachi, mama mami. There was no template for what this means to like a girl. So,
Yeah.
and like back then, there was like not much social media, etc., and all of that. So it was very scary space to be in, knowing, yes, I like a girl, but I did not know that how do I claim this identity? How do I even call myself a lesbian? What the term even means? So when I finally came to Bangalore and I finally came out at the age of 24, and also to answer your previous question where you were saying that, we are out in the organization. I think for me, because I came out at 24, and of course, there's no right age to come out, etc. But for me, it felt like, oh my God, I have lived 24 years of my life without being able to, be my authentic self. So when I did finally come out, I was screaming from the rooftops. I would meet everyone and be like, hi, I'm Shantika, I'm gay. I can't stop. I am just going all out. And that's how I ended up being out in organizations as well. I came out in my first workplace. And it helps also to have like a supportive workspace. In my first organization, when I had come out, my HR was super supportive. So I think that also gives me the space.
Yeah. And not just workplace. So I would like to especially call out two incidents which gave me confidence to, be out there in public and be my authentic self. So when we started this account, we did not realize that I think we had less than 1,000 followers or something,
Yeah.
and Humans of Bombay did a story on us. So
Yeah.
they
Hmm.
did a reel covering our page and covering our story, and that was going viral. Like, you know,
Yeah.
suddenly I wake up and I see there are
1
like lot of
million.
notifications coming in because this reel has reached 1 million views. And while we are happy about it, there's also a
We are
panic
like,
mode. You
we
know,
are done for. Now
Yeah.
families know,
I'm like,
everyone will
oh
know
my
God.
and I'm
Yeah.
getting messages from my neighbors, from my previous, stays, and
Cousins in UK.
cousins in UK who have not spoken for 10 years. I'm getting messages from all over, and they're like, oh, we are so proud of you, and all of that. And I was like, yes, this is my moment. Now there is no going back,
Yeah.
you know. And the messages and the support that I received from people was beautiful. Like, there were so many positive and encouraging messages. And I was like, why should I go back to the closet when I have, you know, reached this stage?
Yeah.
That was one incident. And second was when we started doing activities, events like these. Like, we had gone to one of the colleges
Christ
in Bangalore,
University,
Christ
Christ
University,
University.
and there was a session which we conducted there. And right after the session, you know, there was this very cute young person who walks up to us, and I see their phone. On their phone they had a picture, like a Polaroid picture of them and their partner,
Yeah.
and they showed it to us, and they're like, this is my partner, and you know, you guys really inspire us, you know, you guys give us hope, and we would really want to build a life like yours.
Yeah.
And that really touched my heart. I'm like, you know,
I
if
got all
I
teary.
yeah, if my content, if me being there out in public, you know, is inspiring or giving somebody hope, I should continue doing it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that was so nice and it was really wholesome.
Yeah.
So, as you mentioned, Sayantika, the legal structure has a lot of restrictions and it does not allow a lot of things. So,
Yeah.
my next question is about that. So, you made a viral video addressing the Prime Minister directly, asking for same sex marriage to be legalized. And you've spoken a lot about receiving vile and homophobic comments and having friends check in on you out of
Yeah.
concern. So, what made you decide to put yourself out there like that? And you know, you knew what was coming. So,
Yeah. So the thing is, when we made the video on marriage rights, so I've always been on a personal note, I'm one Shadi Paglu person. Okay, I've always wanted to get married, like way before I knew what any of this meant. But being queer, and we've been together for like 6 years now, we really do want to get married. But the fact that we don't have the choice, and I'm not saying all queer people need to get married. It's not like, okay, tomorrow we get the rights, sabko mandap mein bitha do, you know. But the point is that we should have the choice to be able to do that, because our love, our relationship are no less. And forget our love or relationship, as citizens of India, why is it that there is us, our constitution is based on equality, right? It's supposedly based on equality. So why is it that as a hetero citizen or a hetero straight citizen has the right to marry, but we don't? Do we pay any less tax? Is there like a rebate for, oh, we are taking away some of your rights, pay some less tax? No, there isn't, right? We are paying the same tax. We are voting. We have all, our citizenship is no less than any other state citizens. So why are our rights less? Right? So this was our primary question when we addressed this to the Prime Minister, because it's not just about marriage, right?
Yeah.
When you create that distinction, that hierarchy within your citizens, that said citizens will get more and these group of citizens, minority, get less, then there is a problem within the system itself. And that is what we needed to address with the marriage rights. It is, yes, it's about marriage on a very personal level, because of course we want to get married. I think queer people should have the right to get married. But at the same time, it's also on a very systemic level that
Yeah.
because marriage is not just about marriage. We hear this a lot, you know, from we have heard it from our straight colleagues, etc., that there's a lot of misconception. A lot of people say, oh, but you can marry. Like, I have been straight explained that, oh no, you don't know, I know you can get married. And like,
and people have seen couples on social media getting doing the wedding ceremony.
And their conception is that I see all these queer couples online having a wedding, wearing their lehengas and all of that, and having a wedding ceremony.
तुम
So,
क्यों नहीं कर लेते
तुम
शादी?
क्यों
तुम
नहीं
भी
कर
कर लो ना शादी. That's
Yeah.
so the point here is that yes, of course, tomorrow we can book a banquet hall and do a wedding ceremony, etc., etc. But why do
Did
we
you
need?
want a beach wedding?
Of course I do. But the point is that marriage comes with a lot of rights, especially in a country like India. It comes with threefold rights. One is social rights, which of course the acknowledgement. Even in India today, even with a straight couple, right? Girlfriend, boyfriend, नहीं माना जाता. घर वालों को बोल के देखो, girlfriend, boyfriend बात लगा देंगे.
Yeah.
It's still at a stage where it's like पति पत्नी हो तो ही acknowledge होता है. Marriage
Mhm.
gives you that social
Acknowledgement. Yeah.
acknowledgement of your relationship, and then there is the whole gamut of legal rights. So
Yeah.
I'll give you this simple instance. So the house that we live in Bangalore, Nick owns that house, right? She bought that house a few years ago, and before that we used to live in a rented place. And there we both had the house in both our names because agreement, rental agreement and all. But when Nick bought the house, so she had to buy it only in her name because we are not related and we can't get married. We can't own personal property together unless it's commercial property. So
Yeah.
that's like a legal restriction. We can never have the house in both our names. And now imagine, even though I live with Nick here in this house, I don't have an address. I don't have a legal address in Bangalore. So when I have to go to the passport office or do any of the work, I don't have an address because in the legal term and structure, I'm staying at a friend's house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
we don't have an official agreement among.
Now, if we were married, let's say, because we can't go a straight couple, right? So
Yeah.
if I was like, let's say, Nick's wife and Nick was my husband in some straight weird context, I
Yeah.
wouldn't even need to, I could co-own the property. B, I wouldn't even need to co-own the property with Nick because just the marriage certificate is enough. If it's my husband's residence, that by default, I can show that as my address. But now I can't do that. So see the minuscule things that straight people don't even have to consider. And I've had these conversations with a lot of straight people. They're like, wait, what? ये तो हमें सोचना भी नहीं पड़ता है. Because these happen just like that for you. Things like medical intervention. There was this gay couple in Kerala in which they've been together for 11 years. One of the partners, he passed away. And in a freak accident, and his partner could not even claim his body. He had to go to court for it, and even then the court ruled, because he was not related, obviously, that the family which has not seen this man
The family
in
had
11 years,
abandoned
this person for 11 years. The family will get the body. Even then the family refused to get the body was given away to the government morgue, but not to your partner of 11 years. Can you imagine the pain of that acknowledgement? Yes, it's easy to say, यार अपनी जिंदगी जियो ना, क्या फर्क पड़ता है legal right से? तुम लोग तो साथ में ही रहते हो. But it's not. It's really not. Tomorrow, if Nick is admitted in a hospital and there has to be a severe medical decision taken, I can't take that decision. Her family who stays in Bombay will have to come down here. Because I'm not family. I am in all legal. हम जितना भी साथ में रह ले, 6 साल साथ में रह ले, जितने साल भी साथ में रह ले, in terms of all legal definition, in terms of all the gamut of privileges, I'm just a friend.
Yeah.
And that is why we fight for these rights.
Okay. Yeah, the idea that something as basic as a medical emergency exposes how unprotected the queer community particularly is in India without any legal recognition. That you can't even make a decision for each other in a crisis because you're not considered family by law. So when you think about these moments every day where the absence of legal rights shows up, you talked about the social identity, and you just told us about the story of the Kerala couple that happened. Which one of this do you think is your priority as a representative of the community, which is targeting to change, to amend the laws in the constitution and give people the rights that they deserve? Which particular law which problem hits the hardest, basically, that you would want to change?
Right. So I think something that's more personal to us, of course, is marriage equality rights, but something that's more current, hits the hardest right now, would be the trans amendment bill.
Yeah. It's questioning your identity, and I can't imagine what can be worse than that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there are
It's
authorities who are deciding who you are.
Yeah.
What can be worse than that?
Yeah. Just imagine, like, and I ask this question to all the straight people that we speak to. Imagine, even the cis people, that imagine, okay, I'm a woman, right? I'm a cis woman. Tomorrow, if somebody says that I have to strip and prove in front of a medical board that I'm a woman, how much of my dignity would that strip me off? It's not my clothes I'm stripping. You're stripping me of my dignity, of my basic humanity. So I think, and the fact that this right was taken away and this bill was amended within 2.5 hours Lok Sabha session.
Yeah.
In a 2.5 hours, a Dhurandhar movie is longer than that. And you are sitting in parliament and deciding the fate of thousands and thousands of trans people in this country, and just deciding that in 2.5 hours without consulting the committee that the government itself has created for all trans matters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the committee was not consulted. The community that it supposedly affects is not consulted. And you have just within a span of 2.5 hours decided that this is what will be acknowledged as trans and this is what will not be acknowledged as trans. That you have to prove you've had surgery to be considered trans. You have to be part of particular, socio-cultural groups, such as the Jogatis, etc., to be proved that you are trans. A trans identity does not just mean being part of these socio-cultural communities. In fact, by limiting that, you are maintaining the system of oppression, because these communities were built out of a system of oppression, because they had nowhere else to go, because they could not find work in other spaces,
And they were not accepted.
and there is lack of inclusion in other spaces, so they had to form a separate community. Now if you say that that's the only way to be trans, you're pushing more and more trans people into those communities, only that is the only way for you to survive.
Yeah.
And being pre-op is the only way to be considered trans. Do you know how much a transition surgery costs? Who's going to provide the money? The government. Where is that money even coming from? A lot of trans people, may not even want to get the surgery, because your trans identity is not entirely tied to just your transition physically, right? You are trans if you're trans, period. Like whatever happens to your body, one way or the other, because there's a lot of levels of dysphoria that people function. It has got to do with your layers of dysphoria, that you're feeling that whether you would want to go for surgery or not. And depending on that, even if you do want to go for surgery, there is the matter of, again, the economic structure. Do you have the access to it economically, socially, etc.? Do you have the privilege to be able to function?
Who are coming from smaller towns in India, they don't even know how to go about it.
Yeah. And even if you do, let's say you do happen to transition, there's also the challenge of then you being able to maybe fit in into your workspaces, etc. A lot of trans people, unfortunately, are forced to mask in their workspaces. You know, they're masking their identities because that's the only way they'll be able to manage a job. So considering these, if you still strip people of their identity, I mean, it's ridiculous what the government is doing to us right now.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate that when we say India is developing, but we still have a very long way to go in terms of all of these things.
Yeah.
So, like Santika, you said that you're very, high about marriage and everything, and you love the concept of it. But when in October 2023, the act was passed, and you both spoke to the media and called it a major setback, not just for you, but for the entire community and all the couples out there. So, how did you process this as a couple, and what keeps you going as advocates when system keeps closing doors for you? as you said, it's very hard.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, all the discussions that were going on, we were like following it through. We were watching the trials that were going on live. And there were a lot of discussions that were coming in, which were in positive light. And we had
hope.
We had hope.
For the first time in forever, we had hope with regard to this.
Yeah, and then suddenly tables turned, and we were really devastated with the news. And now we don't know what's the way forward. But there's one thing that is for sure, is that there's no stopping. It's not going to shut us up or send us back in the closet.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the moment where we decided that we need to be there out loud even more, so that we can our visibility can create that awareness. And I really believe this one thing is that with awareness comes acceptance. And we've experienced that. There are a lot of family members, there are a lot of friends who had no idea about what it is, what is the concept of LGBT, or how can two girls or two guys be together in a relationship and live together and all of that. But once they see us, that's when they realize that, oh, this is beautiful, and this is pure, and this is normal, and nothing different, and than what they experience in their lives. And I think that's what we are doing. We are living our lives as a queer couple. Like, we don't hide away from PDA. We don't hide away from anything that any other couple would do. And we are trying to create more and more visibility, so that there is more awareness, ultimately leading to more acceptance.
And also another thing, yes, on a personal front, of course, we are like, I'm still disappointed, okay? Very hurt, because for the first time, we had hope, because what the Chief Justice was saying seemed like we are going to have a positive outcome. And it's very ironic that we lost that basis a majoritarian vote, because there was a five judge panel, right? And 3 of them voted not in favor. The Chief Justice actually voted in favor of this, but 3 of them voted not in favor. And that seems to be the case within the larger scape as well, that it seems to be that the majoritarian opinion
Is deciding for
the minority. And that's not how democracy should function. But anyway, not withholding my legal opinions, but on a personal front, yes, I'm hurt. I'm very disappointed. Because it is, yes, it is about the system, but it's also my life. I'm spending years and years of my life not being able to have these things for myself. On a very selfish level, yes, it affects me in my day-to-day. It affects me that, again, next year, if I have to go to passport office, I will still not be able to procure an address. This is everyday things for me. It affects me that tomorrow, I am scared that if something happens to Nick, I'll have to immediately call her family here and everything. And I'm thankful that her family accepts me as a partner. But what if they didn't? And they just asked me to leave? I would be nobody here in this scape. So these are things that affect me on a day-to-day. It makes me very sad. And to be honest, I've lost a little bit of hope now. I don't know if this is going to happen in my lifetime. I don't know if it's going to happen visibility, because it's the same logic we apply to creating content. Me creating content now is not going to give my 16-year-old self content, but I want to do it for the future generations. I want to do it for the young ones, that if we keep this fight up, that maybe 50 years, maybe 70 years from now, there's going to be some cute little Nick and Shantika who will be able to walk down the aisle without having to fight. And that's what I want to do it for.
Thank you so much for what you're doing for our generation, and it's really helpful. Even your Instagram handle, it's really helping the youth out there. So our next segment is about that. And before today, we invited students from our community to send in anonymous messages, things they've been feeling, questions they've been carrying, or things they simply wanted to say to someone who might understand. So I'm going to read out a few messages, and we'd love your honest reaction on them.
Sure.
Okay. So, the first message is my friends keep asking me why I've never had a girlfriend. They think it's funny. I laugh with them because what else am I supposed to do? Last week, one of them said, "Bro, you're either secretly dating someone or you're gay." Everyone laughed. I laughed too. Then I went home and cried in my room. The stupid part is they aren't bad people. They're actually my closest friends. I just don't know if they'd still look at me the same way if they knew the truth. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. I'm tired of being scared all the time. So, does this resonate with anything either of you felt or lived through?
I think definitely this is something that I would definitely resonate with, and I'm sure there are so many out there who would feel the same, because there's always this fear that, what if I come out as queer to my friends and family and they just reject me, because for them, for most of the people, it might be like, oh, this is something which is bad, or there's a very limited view of things that people know.
And it's honestly the fear of losing your people, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yes, you want to be your authentic self, but do you want to lose your friends? Do you want to lose your people? So, completely understand, it's very valid, very, very valid. I
Yes.
think you have a similar story where you came out to your friend as well.
Yes. So I was, like I said, I was being living a closeted life for the longest time, and there were my friends around me, and I used to get this typical questions, and I always had short hair, and I always was tomboyish in my attire, and I got a lot of questions. Oh, you don't have a boyfriend? No, why don't you live like a girl? Why don't you wear a dress and all of that? And trust me, it's not easy to deal with this on day-to-day basis. And how did I overcome this? So firstly, you need to, out of all the entire friend group, you need to figure out who are the ones who are really close to you, who really care for you. That is one. Second is, a lot of people have very limiting belief about LGBT. Like, people think that, oh, it is only about sex. Like, people tend to focus only on the first three alphabets of the word sexuality. It's not just that,
It's your identity.
it's your identity, it's your entire persona that derives out of it. So you need to really find who really cares about you, sit down with them, have a conversation, and you don't need to, like, just randomly sit with them and tell them, oh, I am gay. People might not be ready for it. Like, this person mentioned an incident, where they questioned, oh, if you don't have either you're secretly dating or you're gay. Instead of laughing with them, try and slowly correct them. That, oh,
I think it's one of the interesting things that I have tried in my life, and I have told a lot of friends also to try, is before you come out, prep the groundwork.
Yeah, exactly.
Prep the groundwork without even talking about yourself. Let's say there's a debate happening on TV. You're watching Nick and Shantik on TV, and there's a debate happening on TV. You're hearing about same-sex marriage, or you see something online about anything queer, LGBT, or anything, and you have this chat with your friend. Or your friend says something. Have that dialogue with them without mentioning yourself. Be like, oh, acha, Nick and Shantika ko to dekha na, अरे cute है ना, मतलब कुछ भी है, and they say something. So that helps you gauge what your friends think, right? Without risking yourself, because you're talking about an unknown third person. You're talking about people on social media. You're talking about a debate happening on TV, right? So you get a pulse on what are their views of queerness to begin with. Individually, also don't do it in a group, because a lot of times it's peer pressure. Somebody in the group may be very queer affirmative, but they may have also laughed with the group just like you did,
and
out of peer
also
pressure.
be
बाकी
other
ने
way
हंसा,
around.
तुमने भी हंस दिया.
And it will be other way around also. If there is even one person, everyone will join.
Yeah,
More.
it may be like one or two people who actually wanted to laugh. The rest may have just joined in.
Yeah.
Just because they don't want to be singled out. So have, I would say, more one-on-one conversations with your closer friends about queerness without mentioning anything about you. Maybe general topics. Maybe, bro, मैंने ये movie देखी. Maybe माजामा देख के आओ. Maybe कोई queer वाली movie देख लो.
Forward them one of our reels.
And have a
cute couple.
us too. And start having that conversation. Then you will start to gauge what they think. then start having that conversation. Like, talk to them like you're an ally, not like you're queer.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I say this always, that it shouldn't just be us queer people who are talking. Allies should also be speaking up when there is somebody says, "Arey, ye to gay lag raha hai, bro," and sabne has diya. Your allies should
Take a
also be
stand,
speaking up.
yeah.
So take a stand like that. And if people say, you can always be like, "No, I am speaking up because I think it's wrong to like laugh at
On a
queer people."
human level,
On
it's
a
wrong.
human level, it's okay for you to speak up and be like you're an ally also. Initially, you can come out as an ally. That is also coming out, huh? You can come out as an ally, and then once you know where your safety is, who you are, people are, then maybe get to that stage of maybe coming out to one person or two-person, and it goes from there. Try not to do in a group, because again, that peer pressure happens. Maybe if some person wants to say also कि हाँ okay है, उनकी आवाज दब जाएगी, because they don't want to be singled out. Because कोई अगर हंस रहा है ना, then the other person who wants to support you is afraid that if they support you, people will call them a lesbian or call them gay too. So try not to do it in a group. Try doing it in a one-on-one conversation. And I know this is going to sound very harsh. And of course, try changing their mentality. Even if initially it's okay. Agar initially they don't know everything. As allies also, you can have long dialogues with them and try to get them to understand. But eventually, if they don't, and yes, with awareness comes acceptance, but there are some people out there, unfortunately, who are bigoted, who are absolutely bigoted and homophobic. And if that happens,
They don't deserve to be in your circle. Please
you have to
exclude them.
question, do you really want to be friends with
Yeah.
them? You really want to be friends with them, irrespective of whether you're gay or not. As
Yeah.
a human, as somebody who believes in equality, even if you were just an ally, would you really want to be friends with people like that?
Hmm.
And don't
That
worry, a
was
big
totally
community is
correct. Yeah.
out there. You'll find your people. It doesn't just have to be from your class or from your batch. Trust me, you will go out there in the world, reach out to people online, make friends online with
You will
people
find
from
your
the queer
safe
community.
space. You'll definitely find your safe space.
There's strength in numbers. Find more queers.
That's totally correct. People, young ones like us out there are hiding their identity, which is a more bigger aspect of their lifestyle than their peer group. So
Yeah.
it is probably actually helpful for this person now. So, okay, the next one, as you both said that your families were really supportive with you, and that's actually very lucky. But now this student is saying that I don't even know why I'm writing this. My mom was showing me photos of some girl today and asking what I thought of her. She was so excited, and I just sat there pretending to care. I felt horrible because she has no idea. I'm 22. I've known I like guys since I was 14. Nobody knows, not my parents, not my friends, nobody. Sometimes I think maybe I should just get married and get it over with because telling everyone feels impossible. Then I think about living the rest of my life pretending, and I honestly can't breathe. I wish I was born normal. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but that's genuinely how I feel some days. So, if you wanted to say something directly to this person, what would you say?
He first off want to give you a really
Yeah,
big hug.
big hug.
Really, really big hug. And I think Nick, you should share your story.
Yeah, I mean, addressing all these questions, it feels like revisiting my traumas because I have lived those and survived those. And look at me, I'm living a happy life today.
It gets better.
It gets better. This is a proof. This is a living proof that it gets better.
Because yes, we said our parents are accepting, but especially in Nick's case, it wasn't always so.
Yeah. So
It wasn't always so.
the first time I decided to move in with Shantika, my mother literally said that I am never coming to Bangalore. I am never coming to your house again. If you have to live with that girl, don't see my face again.
Yeah.
And you must have seen me recently put a reel with my parents. So there, it's been a long
It's
journey.
been a huge journey.
It gets
We've
better.
gone through it all. Like I think when you were outed as a teenager
Yes.
also.
Yes, and I was outed to my mother by one of my ex, so it was really horrible. The first reaction that my mom's was she was like, "Let's go to the doctor. Let's find a cure for this." And I did not have the courage to even sit and talk to her and tell her that this is nothing wrong. This is not a medical condition. You know, But over the years, having those discussions, she's seeing how I am living my life, and everything has brought that shift. One thing that I always say to all the young people, and this is most important, is um, financial autonomy.
It's a huge thing.
It
It's a
makes a
huge
huge
thing,
difference.
especially for queer lives, because you have so little agency over everything else. Get your financial autonomy,
Yeah.
because
As
then,
students, huh?
yes, it may be emotionally difficult for you to be able to live your life if your parents are not accepting, but at least you'll have the agency to do so. If you don't have financial autonomy, it's not in your hands. It's completely out of your hands. So please ensure that before anything else, you're securing your financial autonomy. To be able to, you need to have that backup plan that if your parents are not accepting, how will you be able to live your life?
Yeah.
Because caving in, trust me, caving in is not an option. I had a friend who did that. A very close friend of mine, she's a lesbian. Um, her family were not accepting. She told them she's gay. They were still like, no, you have to try and be with a man. She married a man, and everything. She told the man also. And after that, she still couldn't be with him, because you cannot bear to be in a life like that, right? Like for a lesbian, like literally having to be married to be with a man is like being assaulted every day. That's like, imagine the life of that, right?
Mm.
They were living that life. It's not just, यार सोचते थे माँ बाप को खुश करने के लिए शादी कर लेंगे. It's not just the शादी. You have to live with them. You have to be in that life. आपकी जिंदगी बर्बाद हो रही है, उनकी भी जिंदगी बर्बाद हो रही है, because they could have the opportunity to be with somebody who would actually love them. You're taking that opportunity away from them. No, I've seen a lot of MOCs, these kind of marriages where people have gotten married to a straight person
Out
and
of
stuff like
family
that
pressure.
out of family pressure. Trust me, none of it has ever worked out.
And none of us is happy in such a setting.
None of it has ever worked out. This friend of mine, when they came back to their parents and told them that, listen, I'm not being able to do it. I want to get a divorce. The parents said, if you get a divorce, don't come back home, because we will not be able to show our face. So even after doing all of that, the parents are still not accepting you. तो तुम्हें लगता है तुम ये sacrifice कर लोगे तो माँ बाप खुश हो जाएंगे? नहीं होंगे, नहीं होंगे. So you have to work on it to have your autonomy. You have to work on it to explain it to them and give them time. Maybe it'll take them time.
Yeah. It's not like overnight they'll be like, okay, fine, I'm fine with you being queer. It's going to be a long process. You have to be equally patient. I mean, imagine you took so much time for yourself to come out to yourself and accept yourself. Why not give the same,
Time, and not just time and energy. You have
And
to put in effort. Like I was saying, with your friends also, have those dialogues, have those conversations. I recommend doing that with your parents also. Not with regard to you, but general. As a topic, अरे न्यूज़पेपर में आया, मम्मी पता देखा है, मम्मी को पता भी नहीं होगा शायद लेस्बियन गे क्या होता है, तो एक्सप्लेन करो ना उनको क्या होता है. So have those dialogues, educate them, and at the same time secure your financial autonomy in case things goes wrong. Because in case things goes wrong, and also I tend to see this, that with Indian parents, no, when you have financial autonomy, वो ना आप पे थोड़ा उनकी राय कम थोपते हैं.
हाँ.
उनकी राय तब कम थोपते हैं, तो they let you do what you want to do, थोड़ा बहुत.
Because उनका by default, I think setting ये है कि okay, if you're gay, you're going to do something which is horribly wrong.
Yeah.
So if they see you settled, if they see you earning well, living your life.
Unfortunately, I will tell you this, and this is a very unfortunate thing. There is the pressure on queer people to overperform.
Yeah.
It's like we have to be good in every other aspect of our life to be
Yeah.
accepted for being queer.
Yeah.
So unfortunately,
Unfortunately, वो है, yes.
it's like अगर if you're queer and then you're also not getting a job or doing anything in life, इसी वजह से एकदम बर्बाद बच्चा हो गया पेरेंट्स का.
Okay, so this next message is something that you said, that you guys also behave in public like a normal couple would, PD and everything. So this next message is about that. So this person is saying that I still look around me before holding my boyfriend's hand. We both drop hands when we walk near a group of people who make us uncomfortable. The worst part is we don't even talk about it anymore. So what comes to your mind when you hear this?
So Relatable. That's what comes to my mind. Because trust me,
But
we've
sorry
also
to
been
interrupt.
there.
If this is a gay person, I mean, I
The fear
get
is
it.
even more.
The fear is even more.
Yeah.
For us, it is like, hey, girl, besties, and we can like,
लोग और बहनें दोस्त because दो
it's
लड़कों
an
को
easy
हाथ
escape for
मतलब
us.
भाई भी हाथ नहीं पकड़ सकते ना. It's the toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
So
For guys, it's even more difficult. I
it's
get
even
it.
more difficult. Trust me. Like I get that because in the queer thing also, na, lesbians get fetishized a lot.
Yeah.
Gay men get outright hate.
Yeah.
So yes, the fetishization is also terrible. Please let's not take away from that. It's always seen through the cis male gaze, like it's our relationship is meant for them to perform. We get so there was this incident when we were at a club and we were dancing, and we both love dancing, and we are dancing like any other couple and stuff like that. And this man comes up to us and he's like, "Beach mein we stop dancing," and he's like, "Hey, keep dancing. I'll keep buying you shots. Keep dancing for me." I'm like, "Wait. Are we performing for you? Like, what is this happening?" Like, because in his head, for a lot of cis men, when they see lesbians, it's like, oh, hot. You know, like it's somehow us dancing together or something is for his pleasure.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that fetishization it strips us of our dignity, right? Because it commodifies us. And that's not what our love is. Would you have the audacity to go say that to a straight couple? Hey, keep dancing, I'll buy you shots. You wouldn't. तुम्हें दो पड़ जाने हैं. You will not have the audacity to do that. But you have the audacity to do that with us because somehow you feel our relationship is lesser. That it is something for a voyeuristic lens. And that's the same thing in a way that happens with men, except instead of fetishization, you get hate. Because the idea of toxic masculinity plays a role here. So I completely understand that.
I would
Maybe try being in queer spaces.
No, I would say wherever you are, just take care of your safety.
Yeah.
That is primarily important. Unfortunately, we live in a world where there are a lot of hooligans around you, and you don't know to what extent they can go. So always try and look for your safety. But at the same time, don't forget the law is with you. After 377 got struck down, nobody can actually question you for being gay. You can be gay in this country, and it's all your right to. So ensure that you know your law, and at the same time secure your safety.
Also know that there are a lot of queer organizations and NGOs that can help you out in case things go wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's not, you'll be like, मैं कहाँ से lawyer लाऊं? How will I know all of this and everything? There are organizations like Humsafar Trust. There are organizations like Safo for Equality in Calcutta. Nazariya Foundation in Delhi. Humsafar is in Mumbai, right? Yeah, Humsafar is in Mumbai. So there are organizations like this which can help you with legal aid, help you, with things like this if anything goes wrong. But of course, secure your safety first, because you wouldn't want to be in a situation like that first. If it happens, of course, you have legal recourses, but secure your safety. Maybe surround yourself with a support system, like with more allies or more queer friends. Because if you are in a larger group, it's a little easier. I've always found it a little easier for us, to be closer and to be doing that PD and everything when we are in
the bullies.
Yeah, when we are with a whole group of queer people. Because, strength in numbers and all that. We find it, I find it, honestly, I stopped going to straight parties. I love going to my queer parties. Because I know in a way that no matter what, no matter, शायद ऐसे नहीं है कि मारामारी हो जाएगी or whatever. But I know the uncomfortable gaze that we get when we are at a straight party. When we are trying to dance together and stuff. So instead, I enjoy the same at queer parties. I love going to my queer parties, getting close with my girlfriend, dancing with her and everything, knowing that I'm in a safe space.
Yeah.
So I think
while I was growing up, there used to be like one queer event that used to happen once a year.
so
but
many.
now you guys are lucky, so fortunate. There's so many
and
things
in
happening.
all the big cities, Mumbai mein to Bangalore,
Especially Pride Month. So you go there, go with your partners, go with your allies, go with your friends, and truly find your safe space and be yourself there. Like
there are some queer affirmative spaces also. Like find queer-owned restaurants or stuff like that. Go to those.
Yeah.
Those are your safe spaces. So find these kind of safe spaces. Go to queer events also, not just parties. Queer events. Yesterday there was in Bangalore, there was a queer picnic happening in Carbon Park. It was very cutesy and stuff like that. So go to these kind of spaces. You will be around queer people,
Yeah.
and it'll be a little easier for you. Hope that helps.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for responding to these messages, because this is their only way of asking someone who is actually going to help them and guide them. So it
And I
was really
completely get it. You really don't know who to ask this and where to go. I'm so glad that you were able to, share whatever we have learned with our lived experiences.
And to all of you out there, not just the ones sending the messages, if you ever want to talk about anything, ask
Yeah.
anything, talk about queer issues, feel free to drop us a DM, drop us a message on Instagram, and we will always respond. We do get a lot of queries and like a lot of just straight out heartfelt rants on Instagram from people, and we are always happy to engage and talk and have that little chat with you. No, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of young people will be watching this today, as we are a student portal, and especially a college student portal.
Mm.
It's especially, as you talked about, the people in the smaller cities, the ones with conservative homes.
Yeah.
I are looking at someone like you and wondering if a life like yours is even possible for them.
Yeah.
And what do you want to say to a kid in a tier 3 city in India that is closeted?
Yeah.
Not now, it's been like he has family issues. He cannot talk to friends about it because it's not even his family, even his friends don't know about
Yeah.
this, and they make fun of him for maybe dressing up like something. He now has the opportunity to talk to you guys
Yeah.
through Instagram, as you just said. He has the internet, but he still doesn't feel safe in his own surroundings.
Yeah.
Someone, because he lives in a tier 3 city, and that's reality for him for the next 2 to 3 years at least. Even if he goes out for college, for the
Yeah.
next 2 to 3 years, he'll have to stay closeted.
Yeah.
So, what do you have to say about something like that?
Yeah. So I'll give you an instance of this friend of ours from Mumbai. And yes, it's a very harsh reality. Thank you for bringing this up, because not everyone has the privilege of being in metro cities, etc. Right? And especially when you're in that stage, when you're young, when you don't have the life, you're not at that stage in your life where you can just take a job somewhere else and move, right? You're still studying, things like that. You don't
Dependent
have
on family.
dependent on family, don't have that autonomy. So yes, that is a very, very real struggle. So I'll tell you this little story of this friend of mine, Sianga. So they are from a small town in MP called Satna. Okay, it's like the small place in MP, and they were there. They were, of course, non-binary person. They lived there all their life. Of course, family, friends didn't know, etc., and all of that. So this was during the TikTok times and everything that they started kind of like creating content and talking about their issues and everything online, right? And of course, they had a separate profile and all of that. And they started talking about it. This joined a lot of. So interestingly enough, there's a lot of GC groups for queer people and stuff like that, group chats and stuff like that on Instagram that you can connect on. So they found their queer community, found their friends, found a whole lot of support online and everything. Of course, it took them a while, and when they first came out, I think they were still in school and stuff, and it took them a while till they got to college, and they moved to a college in Mumbai and things like that. And now they are one of the biggest drag artists in Mumbai. They are a drag king in Mumbai, and they are very much out there, loud and proud. So why am I narrating the story to you? That yes, it will be a few tough years. It will be a few tough years for you, but know that you have to have because you can't risk your safety. Because right now, if you feel compelled to come out, and especially knowing that you will not have first gauge, do you have supportive family and all? If you don't, then don't risk it right now. Don't risk it when you don't have agency. I would say this flat out, that don't risk it when you don't have the agency कि अगर कुछ हो गया तो you will be able to get out. मत
Yeah.
करो यार. I know कुछ सालों के लिए tough होगा, ठीक है? And वो कुछ सालों के लिए when it is tough, maybe try finding an online community, not just reaching out to us. Like I said, form more queer friendships. People who can understand, people maybe probably your age who are in different cities and stuff like that. Forming those queer friendships, I think that gives you, even when you can't have a physical one, that gives you like maybe an online support system,
Good
a support
moral
group.
support.
There are also a lot of queer affirmative therapists if you have and can access it. They also there are a lot of queer affirmative therapists that give student discounts, etc., especially to queer kids. So you can access those if you have the means to access that to help you navigate through this tough time. I would say be able to go for that.
Yeah.
Form your support system. If you are able to maybe come out to one person, because that can also help. When you're in an environment ke puri khandan tum, no one's accepting you, all your friends don't know, but maybe this one didi or this one person in your family knows.
Who you
The
really
school
trust.
cousin who you really trust.
All that can
Ensure
backfire.
that, otherwise it's tough. But who you trust with, with your life's deepest secrets, maybe come out to them and have that safe space so that somebody has your back, somebody knows what you're going through, and make a solid plan to get out of that space and gain some agency. Like I was having this conversation with this friend of mine. They were like, all this time that I was in Satna, my goal was clear that I have to get to Mumbai. My goal was clear that I have to get out of here. And I worked so hard just to make that happen. Because unfortunately for us queer people, the journey is not just being closeted, coming out. We have to ensure we have the scaffolding to be able to come out.
Yeah.
So ensure you have that structure, the scaffolding, whether it's prepping and that's what we have been saying from the start, whether it's prepping your friends group to be more supportive before you come out to them, whether it's prepping your parents to have that dialogue before you come out to them, or whether it's prepping to have that agency in terms of financial autonomy or space that you move to a different city to be able to come out. Don't come out without having any of that. And yes, it's going to be tough, but in the meantime, keep that plan intact and try to find whatever support you can within that. And no, don't give up. Please don't give up. No, it's going to get better.
Yeah, reach out.
Please just pull through. No, it's going to get better. Okay, please.
And also at the same time, there shouldn't be any pressure to come out. Just
Yeah.
because everyone on the internet is coming out,
Yeah.
you don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to come out until and unless you feel safe, you feel that you have that safety net, you have that scaffolding around you. Shantika came out at 24. I came out at 12. We know people who came out at 50. We know people who came out at 60. So there
Yeah.
is absolutely no age of coming out. And, don't come under that social pressure.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Do not jeopardize your safety at any cost.
Yeah, so nowadays we all say that we have a modern thought process and we are more acceptable. But the truth is that we actually sometimes laugh about all of this behind people's back, or it is more of a taboo topic still. So, from your experience, what do you wish that more organizations and institutions, especially including colleges and schools, actually understood about inclusion? Like, what does it look like to you?
I think, yes, of course, a lot of these colleges have, pride events and stuff like that. And they're having that, they'll have some speakers coming in, panel, etc. But when it comes to actually supporting queer students, there needs to be active efforts. There needs to be, one of the things that we did in our organization was have a listening circle. Have a listening circle, have a support group of queer students and allies maybe. And not just with the students, but somebody who has some authority figure. Maybe some professor or somebody who's really supportive.
Like in corporates, we
have HR. Like in corporates, we have DNI HR, senior leaderships, etc. Be a part of these circles. In colleges, that would translate into a professor. Being supportive through all of this, actually be part of the listening circles, because that support group listening circle, be some kind of regulation, anti-discrimination regulations. I think we need to all queer organizations, all queer groups need to push for that within their organizations to have actual anti-discrimination regulations. Because policies, or in colleges it would be regulations. Yeah, that, because what is the point of being like, oh, we are there for you, we support you, but what if somebody is actually getting bullied? What are you going to do about it? Are there actual steps? Because A, that helps redress the issue when something like this happens, and B, that also reduces the amount of issues. Let's be honest. If you know that there is some repercussion to you bullying somebody for being queer, that does stop it to some extent, right?
Yeah.
Right? If you know that there is going to be an actual repercussion to you making derogatory remarks about homophobic comments and everything,
Yeah.
you will not, your mentality may not entirely shift, because it's not possible to shift the mentality of the entire student population. But at least there should be a deterrent to it, so that the queer students can feel safe.
Yeah. Also, one more thing is, when is it a problem? When I am the one who's probably in a class of 60 people, I am the one who's bullied. I am the one who's getting that othering. But now imagine the reverse case. If we call out that one person who is passing that homophobic comment,
Yeah.
other 59 people will take a stand and say, hey,
Yeah.
you are wrong.
Yeah.
And that's what the attitude should be for.
And it shouldn't lie on just queer people to speak up. I say this a lot. Allyship has a large role to play in this. That when I am the only person who speaks up in an office party, it's easy to target me. But when I have, like Nick said, when even in my absence, don't do it just because I'm there. Do it even when no queer person is present. Speak up and say that, hey, that's not okay to say that. That's not okay to, use those words or make that homophobic joke. So when you create that safe space as an ally, it becomes easier for somebody who's actually queer to exist.
Right. So this was truly very enlightening for everyone who was watching it. And we all thought that this interview would probably be enough to cover everything, but I guess we were wrong. There's still a lot for us to know, and a lot for all of the children out there and the youth out there to learn. So, is there anything that you wish someone, either one of us, had asked you today, or something you want to say to all of us?
I mean, I think the questions are endless, and for us being queer, we every day have to face new challenges. Like a cook would question us, like, आप लोग ने अब तक शादी क्यों नहीं की? And even we think about, okay, what to tell her today, what should we say?
Yeah. Have open dialogue.
Yeah, and these things keep happening, and I understand one session like this cannot cover it, but feel free to reach out to us. We ensure that we address every DM that we get, even if it is a hate comment. I ensure that I reply back and
oh my
try and
god,
put
yes.
some sense in
One
them.
time somebody had messaged us saying that if you two get married, who will take the dowry and who will do the manly chores? Who will do the woman's work? And Nick had taken out the time to reply and have a dialogue with that person.
A good half an hour conversation with that person, and at the end, this person was like, "Yeah, I will also help my wife in the kitchen today."
Because we taught them about how it shouldn't be genderized. There's no woman's work.
So we might take time to respond, but be rest assured that we are here to hear you and have that dialogue and open to conversations anytime. So feel free to reach out.
I think one more thing I think we want to talk about, and this is more in terms of allyship, not just for queer people, that try to understand, have dialogue about queerness. Don't treat it as, yes, I do support, but I'm not going to get too involved in it. Learn. And it's okay to ask the questions. It's okay. I get this from allies a lot. Like, I'm afraid to ask the wrong questions.
Or what if
I mess up?
Yeah.
What if I say the wrong terminology? Know that it's a learning process for all of us. We don't know everything either. It's not like when I become a lesbian, I go to a 7-day boot camp and get training and then get a certificate at the end of it. And, now I know all things lesbian. It doesn't happen. We are also learning. We are also evolving. and your allyship journey is also going to be like a work in progress. You may ask the wrong questions. As long as your intent is right and you're willing to learn, you will evolve over time. We are also evolving. There is no strict lesbian Bible that or like queer Bible that everyone knows by heart. We are all learning here, and it's okay if you don't ask, if you don't learn, if you don't try to understand, then you will not be able to support. So please be inquisitive, try to learn and support. I think that's something I would ask all queer people, because you never know. It's you may not even have a single queer friend, or you
Yeah.
may do which you don't know about. But
Mm.
if you create that safe environment, you are creating it for somebody queer out there to be able to come out.
Yeah.
So please create that, even when there is probably no queer person in your friend circle.
I mean, it's okay to be curious, but don't forget to be sensitive and
Yeah.
kind.
The person who sent that message that, when somebody asked me if I'm gay and all my friends laughed.
Yeah.
Yes, we write to that question from that person's perspective, but I also want to reply to all his friends or all friends group out there that please speak up when somebody says something like this. You never know. Somebody in your friends group might be that person who goes home and cries. So please don't let your friends go through that.
Yeah. All right. Nick, Priyantika, on
So you
behalf
know, man. Yeah.
on behalf of SRF and everyone at Transon,
Yeah.
genuinely thank you so much for your openness, your honesty, and for trust, especially for trusting us with your stories. The work the both of you do on Instagram, at Flipkart, and your advocacy, it reaches to people who may never tell you that you did it. And we hope today added to that reach, even in a very small way. But to everyone watching, we hope this conversation meant something to you. Transman was always meant to be more than just a event. It was meant to be a reminder that you're not alone, that your identity is not a burden, and that there are communities like SRF,
Yeah.
like the one Nick and Sayantika have built, that are rooting for you. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself and each other. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
you.
everyone, for joining in.
Happy Pride and
Happy Pride.
Thank
have a
you.
lovely, lovely, very gay day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.